Hey everyone, it's Laura here from makingcardsthesun.com, and today I'm here with two videos for the fall 2015 release block hop from the ton. So for my first video, I am using two new stamp sets from the new release from the ton. The two stamp sets I'm using today are called Autumn Foliage, and then I'm also using the new Hey Foxy stamp set. So before I make this card, I created some little swatch cards using the new Autumn Foliage stamp set by the ton, and the reason I did that is because I wanted to have an overview of the colors that work together to create these layered leaves. So this is a layered stamp set, or it's a stamp set that you can use for layered stamping, and layered stamping is a technique that you do with particular stamp sets such as this set. So these images mainly exist out of 3 layers, but I will show you how to work with these. But you probably already heard of them, and I already used them as well. So I'm going to start out with the largest leaf, and I am going to use my swatch cards over there to figure out the colors I'm using. So first I am using like purplish or pinkish kind of colors. So I'm using dull pink ink for my first layer, and I started out by stamping these with acrylic blocks, but then later on in the video I discovered that it's a lot easier to use your MISTI stamping tool with these stamps because it's just easier to line them up. Then for my second layer, I am using Raspberry Jam ink from Hero Arts. So this is my medium toned color, and if you wouldn't have many different ink pads, then you can also use the same color over and over again, but then you would just have to stamp it multiple times so you can see a color difference. So here's a part where I figured out that it would be easier to use my MISTI stamping tool, and I forgot to stamp the third layer of those pink leaves, but I will do that later on in the video. So for the second leaves, I'm using some brownish or orangey colors. So I'm starting out with just Rust ink from Hero Arts, and I placed my stamp on my paper first, and then I picked it up with my MISTI tool, and then here I am putting the MISTI tool down so I can easily stamp that. Then I'm stamping the second layer of those leaves, the third layer of those leaves, and I am using the darkest color, which is Grape Juice ink from Hero Arts. This is a dark purple color, and it looks really beautiful on these leaves. So I was inspired by images I saw over at Pinterest from actual autumn leaves. I just think the colors of the autumn are just absolutely beautiful, and I'm really happy to start creating autumn and winter cards again. So for those brownish leaves, I am using, let's see, I think this was Lipstick Red ink. Yeah, Lipstick Red ink from Simon Stamp for my second layer. And then for my third layer, I am going to use some Rich Cocoa ink from Memento. I personally prefer Simon Stamp and Hero Arts dye inks, but I also like to use this Rich Cocoa ink from Memento, and of course I also love the Tuxedo Black ink from Memento, since I always use that to do some Copic coloring. I also wanted some yellow leaves, so I am using Lemon Yellow ink from Hero Arts first. And then for my medium tone color, I am using Sunshine ink from Simon Says Stamp, and you can see my reflection. So that's something I don't really like, but I couldn't, prevent it. So yeah, just don't notice my reflection. So I am going to stamp that leaf, and then for the third layer of those leaves, I am going to use Pumpkin Pie ink from Hero Arts. So these ink pads are just absolutely beautiful for fall or autumn inspired cards, but they also work for summer cards because I use lemon yellow all the time for summer inspired cards. Then I'm going to stamp the last leaf, and you can't see it, but I am using my little swatch cards to figure out which colors I wanted to use. For the first layer of those leaves, I used Sunshine ink from Simon Says Stamp, and then for my second layer, I am using Orange Soda ink from Hero Arts. So as you can see, it's really easy to stamp these leaves with the Misty, since you can easily line up your stamp exactly like you want it, and then you can just pick it up with the Misty and it stays in place. By the way, I have links to all of the colors that I am using, and on my blog I also share a picture of those little swatch cards that I mentioned in the beginning of my video. So I'm using the adorable Hey Foxy stamp sets from the ton, and I stamped those foxes onto some Simon Says Stamp Ultra Heavyweight cardstock using some Memento Tuxedo black ink. And at first I am using YR21. So I'm doing some Copic coloring, and then I'm going in with my darkest color, which is YR27, and I'm just going around the edges to add some shading. So it's a really easy way to do Copic coloring. And then I wanted to blend that lightest color with the darkest color, so I am using YR24 for that. And I'm just flicking my brush and I'm kind of moving it upwards and downwards just to blend those colors really well. And I think that this stamp set is just so adorable. These foxes are so beautiful, and I absolutely love their big tail. So then I am using an NO marker first, and then I'm going to blend that with the colorless blender, since I just wanted a little bit of shading. I'm also using some more of that gold glitter cardstock that I use quite frequently, and I cut a tiny strip of that so it measures 1/4 of an inch. And I'm adhering that glitter paper onto some white Nina cardstock using my ATG gun, and then I'm going to cut off that edge that is hanging off using my scissors. So for the sentiment of this card, I am using the Happy Thanksgiving greeting from the Autumn Foliage stamp set by the ton. And then I'm using the Hey Foxy greeting from the Hey Foxy stamp set. I thought it would be kind of cute and fun to stamp a greeting that says Hey Foxy, Happy Thanksgiving. I thought the sentiment looked pretty plain and flat, so I stamped over that greeting using some Versamark ink, and I'm going to sprinkle on some clear embossing powder from Wow. And then I'm also going to heat set that using my heat tool, and then you will be left with a greeting that kind of pops out, and it's just really shiny and very pretty, I think. So I'm going to fuzzy cut the fox, and I am using my EK6S Cutter Bee scissors for that. I highly recommend these scissors for fuzzy cutting because they're just really nice and sharp. I'm also going to add some thread onto this card, so I am just wrapping that around my fingers to create a circular shape of twine. And then I'm going to pull that thread here and there just to make it look a little bit messy, and it's a really nice backdrop for this fox. So I'm adhering the fox using some foam adhesive, and normally this adhesive should be enough to hold the thread down. But you know, of course I couldn't resist to adhere some sequins. I am using some sequins from the ton, so those orange sequins are from the pumpkin spice mix. I just picked those sequins out. And then I'm also using some gold sequins, and then I'm also using some twilight rose sequins from the ton, which is a really beautiful color. Then I'm just adhering that piece onto the card using some foam adhesive, and that finishes up my card. So be sure to watch my second video for this block hop as well, and be sure to visit my blog for more information about a giveaway and for more details about this block hop. Thanks for watching.